Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of Inner Alchemy with Sandal Roy. I'm your host, Sandal Roy. We're now streaming on all platforms: Spotify, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, and now exclusively, always exclusively available here on YouTube and Spotify as a video podcast. And today I want to talk about karmic interfacing, what it is, why you need to know about it, and why you need to be able to learn how to clear it. Okay, now karmic interfacing, also known as, I think other people sometimes call it reptilian interfacing, I tend to call it karmic interfacing. What is it? Karmic interfacing is basically an interfacing system that works in the quantum field. It's a spiritual technology. It's actually a form of anti-hierogamic software. It's an antichrist spiritual technology that is used by dark forces against humanity as a form of psychological warfare against the gender principle, okay? And it is specifically designed to keep divine unions apart, okay? It splits the masculine and feminine, keeps us in gender warfare, and keeps us separated from our true divine beloved that God has for us, okay? And there's many reasons for this, okay? One of them is obviously population control. Dark forces do not want humanity to proliferate, to populate, because we're easier to control when we're smaller in number. Just generally, dark forces just want to genocide us, and they want to kill us, and they want to stop us from breeding. So that's its purpose, right? How does it function? Okay, it functions obviously as a spiritual technology by interfacing with your spiritual technology, which is the many layers of your human body: your physical body, your emotional body, your auric field, your causal body, which is the mental body. We have many layers to our body, eventually making up a toroidal field that we are, our digestive tract is actually the center of a toroidal field. We're actually donut-shaped beings. It's just that, in this physical 5-sense reality, we perceive ourselves as just this long, thin thing with arms and fingers like a tree, right? But if you look at a tree, it's actually a toroidal field, if you can see its full energy signature, and we're no different to that. So it interfaces with your light body, and it hooks into your wounds, okay? We all have different wounds growing up on this planet based on our own specific, unique trauma. So whatever your wounds are around either the masculine or the feminine, depending on who you're attracted to, it will hook into those. And it does this little thing called, it's not a little thing, it's actually a very, very nefarious thing called an alien love bite. That's what it's called in the Klontics community. Anybody who's kind of familiar with Lisa Renee's work. As I've said before, I don't take Lisa Renee as gospel, but her work on this subject has really, really informed my healing work, and it's helped me and my clients a lot. So that's why I will always give credit where that is due. I'm going to be referencing some of her teachings in this video, okay? But like I said, I don't agree with everything that she teaches. So it will basically do an alien love bite, which is basically where she says there's negative aliens. I personally believe that it's actually demonic forces, but I think according to her worldview, those are negative aliens. They're like interdimensional ETs, but I would say that that's technically a demon, okay? Because a demon is just any being that no longer submits to the Most High, has broken its connection to Prime Creator God Source, and is following the laws of free will to just do what it wants, okay? And often those things mean going against natural law, okay? So there'll be an entity, you'll have an entity attachment hooked into your light body in your wounds. Like maybe you have a wound that men can't be trusted, or men only like me for my body. And then there'll be another, you'll see a guy and he will only like women for his body, okay? But he might have a corresponding wound that's women never trust me, and they're only in it for what they can get. Okay, so if you as a woman believe men only like you for your body, so you might as well just get what you can from them because they never really fall in love with you anyway and none of them can be trusted, you guys are gonna be drawn to each other like magnets. Okay, this is a very, it's actually not that sophisticated when you think about it. It's actually very simple. You have a vibrational point of attraction to somebody who's going to make you aware of those wounds. I've talked about this extensively for many years in many of my previous videos, but I've obviously come to a much deeper level of understanding on how this works by being able to see it in the field in my work with my clients and see how these systems are actually hooking into people's wounds and their belief systems that get implanted during various traumatic experiences that they go through. We can even we can see where the cord is hooked in or where the interfacing system is hooked into their light body. And we can go into that part of the body, open up timelines and actually go and visit the original trauma and do inner child work and collapse that whole timeline. And then the interfacing system just falls out, okay? And then they start being able to access a whole new timeline around union and love and start attracting better people, in their lives, and eventually we'll be able to attract their true divine beloved, okay, their genetic equal, which is basically like the other half of their soul that's incarnated into another body on this planet, a male body, which is what I have now been able to clear and align to now. Those of you who've been following me for a long time will have seen that, okay? It can take some time to clear this system, okay, because it can be very sophisticated, and as you continually level up, the deceptions unfortunately get more and more sophisticated. Okay, so many clients that I've had have got into unions that at first did seem like they were divine union, and then after some time they start to reveal themselves as high level deceptions and they get more sophisticated, which is it's really scary to think about, but ultimately God will allow us to go through these experiences because there's learning in them. And because we're able to help others as we do it, okay? So now that I've got into divine union with my counterpart, I'm not like, obviously we've taken some time to really enjoy finally finding each other. But ultimately the divine union is about the mission that you two hold together, okay, as two halves of the same soul. You have a divine mission, you yourself and your counterpart also has the same mission. So when you find each other, the mission just accelerates, okay? And there's really no stopping it, okay? Now this is why there've been really high level attacks on unions and why they've set up these systems to try and stop these unions coming together, because they are a massive threat to their system, okay? And the new system that they're building with the new world order and merging us with AI and tracking and tracing us and jabbing us and putting nanotech in our bodies and trying to merge us with the cloud, okay, is all part of their system to continue harvesting the human light body, okay, because they do not have their own source connection. They don't want to develop their own source connection because that means submitting to the Most High. That means living a righteous life and living according to God's laws, and they don't want to do that, okay? They just want to continue being evil fucks and they want to just siphon other people, okay? And that's what they've been doing to humanity, okay? And it's much easier for them to do it if you're in a false union, because the relational and sexual misery that comes from being with a person that is not your beloved is fuel for them, okay? They love the emotional pain and the trauma that comes from those false unions, the volatility, okay? Dark forces feed on that stuff, okay? They're energetic beings. So their energy fuel source is not like physical food like what we eat here in this plane. It's more like an energetic substance, okay? And they find that stuff, particularly, nice to feed on, and which I know seems strange because you're just like, why would they not feed on like happiness and joy? Because by its very nature, happiness and joy are very like high vibrational emotions, and they can't access those because they don't vibrate that high. It's not a vibrational match to them. Just like how some people like to eat like raw living foods. As I just posted on Instagram, my beloved Dominic, he just did an interview on there. Glenn, what's his surname? Glenn Mercer. He just did a podcast interview, okay, talking about his transformation, where he healed loads of chronic illnesses by following a more high vibrational, raw food, plant-based, vegan diet. and healed loads of chronic illnesses, okay? Because when your body starts vibrating at a higher frequency, everything that's not in alignment with that frequency will just get shaken out. It will just, won't be able to survive in a body that's vibrating higher. So a lot of it, yes, is vibrational. And also it's completely antithetical to the vibration of love and happiness and joy and bliss and orgasmic union, to parasite on that. Like, it wouldn't, the two are completely incompatible. You wouldn't be able to parasite on that. That's just emotion that's given freely. And yeah, as these unions do start to come together, the love and the trust and the joy and the bliss, and the inspiration that they will emanate from, aligning to the mission does have a ripple effect on other people, okay? It starts dissolving people's negative belief systems and starts to activate them and heal them, and accelerates the divine union timeline for other people as well. So yeah, so it will interface into your wounds, and then it will tag you to a false beloved. So there's different types of karmic interfacing systems. So one of the there's alien love bites, false twin flame, Lilith Azazel. Okay, so the most nefarious and the most least sophisticated system. Although when you're trapped in it, it doesn't necessarily feel like that. It's actually very addictive, intoxicating, and very hard to break free from, is the Lilith Azazel karmic interfacing system. Okay, it's called Lilith and Azazel because those are two demonic beings in the Abrahamic tradition. Actually, Lilith goes back all the way to the Sumerian pantheon. Okay, she wasn't even a she. The Lilu were basically a class of demons that would shapeshift in the field into succubi, and they would appear in dreams, mostly targeting men, but also targeting women. But the name Lilith is obviously generally associated with a feminine type being, but they're actually gender neutral beings, and they'll shapeshift into a succubus and tag a human male. Okay, they'll appear in his dream, and it's basically like an astral clone. Okay, it's an astral clone that mimics some of the frequency of the true divine beloved, okay, of your true beloved. That person is coded to match you, okay, to be compatible with you, and has all the traits that you're looking for in a person mirrored back to you in a masculine or a feminine body. So the Lilith will basically, it will be like this kind of astral clone of the beloved. It's obviously a very rudimentary clone. It won't be exact, but there'll be very, very similar traits. And at the same time, Azazel, who's a masculine demon, will be doing the same to the feminine counterpart, okay? And they'll go and tag two people who are similar to each other's beloved, but are not the same, okay? We're all so unique in our soul's templating, okay? We're all so different, okay? And that's why there is no competition when you get into union, okay? I know some of our fears can play out, and we have these like fears of betrayal or fears of loss, but really you can't ever, once you get into union, you can't lose your beloved to another person, okay? Because nobody can compete with you, okay? Because you are exactly what your beloved is looking for, and vice versa. So that's once you are able to access that belief system, you're able to access a higher timeline. And even just watching this video can help you clear some of that interfacing systems and drop those out of your body. So it will put the two people together, okay? And so they'll be like, oh, this feels like a real thing. But the thing with the Lilith Azazel union is actually a narcissistic codependent type dynamic, okay? And I've spoken about narcissism and codependency in previous videos, and I do recommend that you go watch some of those videos, even though my codes have upgraded a lot since then because I was in a false union at that time. There's still a lot of good stuff in there, and it was all necessary for me to integrate on my journey. Just, as you're going through them, make sure that you also watch the newer stuff as well, because I don't want you stuck in that timeline for too long, because, the time is ripe for people to get into unions now, okay? So Yeah, with the narcissist codependent dynamic, they are magnetically drawn to each other because they're basically embodying the shadow aspect of the other. The narcissist does need to learn to be more giving, more loving, more self-sacrificing, like the codependent. That's what they love about the codependent, and also they see them as supply and somewhere to get their needs met. But there is a genuine emotional bonding and a fondness. Okay, that's why these types of relationships can feel so intense and so trauma bonded, because there is a magnetism. And like, yes, your light bodies will literally fuse and form an energetic matrix with this person. So it can be very difficult to extricate yourself from the relationship, because you're accessing lost aspects of who you are. They're mirroring back something about you. They're not your true beloved though, usually. Like, I don't believe that like most narcissists, like if there's that true beloveds can narcissistically abuse each other. They can have some narcissistic traits that get played out in a true union, but you're always going to come back into harmonization, because when you're with your true beloved, you do experience, like, hurting them is like hurting yourself. Okay, so you don't want to be like, just knowing that you're causing pain to them is like it's painful for yourself as well, to realize that. Like, the only reason why anybody would need to do that is if they just have like some toxic communication styles where they don't know how to get their needs met. But I don't want to digress into like different side issues. You know, there's obviously a lot that I can say about this, and I'll have to like do lots of follow-up videos. But you know, this is obviously a huge subject, so I'm going to be talking about this a lot more. So the second type of interfacing system, and this one's much more high level and much more sophisticated, is the Isis-Osiris. The Isis-Osiris love bite. Okay, and in this type of union, there is a deep alchemy of masculine and feminine principles. Okay, so it definitely feels more, when you get into it, you might be like, oh my God, yes, this is my person, because there'll be maybe more areas of compatibility. Both of you will have done quite a lot of work on healing yourself. It won't be quite so toxic as the Lilith Azazel. There won't be like these toxic, narcissistic, codependent dynamics. Both of you will be a little bit more sovereign, but there will still be some polarity integration that needs to happen between the masculine and feminine, because of all the gender warfare programming on this planet, and the fact that we haven't really seen any full examples of proper, integrated, healthy divine masculinity and properly embodied and sovereign divine femininity. Okay, there's still so much confusion around what those energies are, and I am going to do another video where I go more deeply into like polarity principles and understanding feminine energy, masculine energy, and how those express themselves within the body of a human being, and what is healthy. And it is very unique to each union. Like, it's not like the man is, if you're getting really into polarity teachings about how a man should be or how a woman should be, like, I'm not saying that those can't be helpful. They absolutely can be helpful, and I was helped a lot by studying polarity. And, you know, I was able to reclaim a lot of aspects of my Sophianic, my divine feminine consciousness that I had suppressed, that I'd shamed, that I'd vilified due to internalized misogyny. And also it helped me heal my relationship to the masculine as well, because I realized that there were so many aspects of masculinity that are so sacred and so divine and deserve feminine devotion, okay? And that's so natural for us, okay? And it's necessary on the divine union path that we learn to actually embody that true devotion towards the other polarity of ourselves, because that is a part of ourselves. And if we're missing that, then we won't be able to access divine union. But too many people are too hurt. You know, we've been too hurt by being in false unions, and so we think, oh, men are all this or women are all that. And it's just like, well, no, that's being caused. All those issues are being caused by people dealing with the wrong person. And when you're dealing with the wrong person and you're just treating each other like placeholders, you'll do for now, you know, or this person's like, okay, yeah, they're meeting most of my needs, but it's not perfect. It doesn't feel like, you know, like how I thought it would. People settle, and I understand why people settle, okay, because, you know, you're told all this stuff about, like, you know, it's not really real, it doesn't exist like it is in Hollywood or like in Disney movies. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, it's not like that. It's like so much better. It's so much better than you could even imagine. Like, we're planning actually to do a whole course around what happens when you get into divine union, because it can actually, I don't know if it's just me and who I am as like my gifts as an oracle, but like the way I'm able to like read his light body or access my own light body, and the amount of like healing that takes place like when we're in an intimate space, and the visions and downloads that just start streaming through my crown, I don't think would have been able to happen with a false union. Like, it's only happened with him. So, you know, maybe that's something I'll have to talk to other divine union couples and find out if that's happening for them as well. But I really feel like, you know, it's when you meet your person, your gifts are definitely going to come online in a much bigger way, because you have a shared mission. So it's going to start like lifting all those blocks of resistance of what you're here to do. Okay, so another thing that can happen in the Isis Osiris love bite is that you may have past or parallel life memories playing out. Okay, now I've been doing a little bit of research into past lives and whether they're actually real or not, which I know sounds strange, because if you're a client who's worked with me, I've been able to I can access people's Akashic record and view what appears to be a past life. Okay, but and you know, when I access those lifetimes, I can see my clients sometimes looking very, very similar, or having a very, very similar energy signature in this other lifetime. Okay, but it's possible that these might not actually be past lives. They might not be you at all. Okay, it might be just another person in the quantum field, another person that had that lifetime that's passed on, but has some very similar templating or coding to my client. So if you're having these memories come through, and it did actually happen with Dominic as well. When we first got together, we had lots of memories coming through as well. So it's not necessary, you know, if this is happening to you, a lot of people will be like, oh, this must be my divine union. But I've seen it happen with people that are not divine union. So I think it can happen regardless, but it will happen once the relationship starts to become a little bit more, both of you are becoming a little bit more balanced, and you're approaching, it might be the person before you meet your actual divine union. So, you know, these could be like beings that have passed on, that have had a very similar lifetime, where they're playing out similar gender dynamics. Okay, so things like, you know, I've seen priestesses and priests in the, you know, the mystery school temples, you know, dakinis, courtesans, sex workers, soldiers. All of these are basically playing out different archetypal energies of the masculine and feminine in various to various levels of distortion, okay, and the ways in which masculinity and femininity have been harvested and siphoned on this planet. So, you know, as you start to heal those wounds and traumas of what's happened to the collective masculine and what's happened to the collective feminine on this planet, the way that we've been abused in different ways, and heal those and integrate them within yourself, then you start aligning with you know, you'll start accessing your higher timeline around divine union. And the reason why this happens is because, let's say, for example, you're able to access a past life or a parallel life as a soldier, even if that wasn't you. You know, if there's a soldier that's just like wanting to come in during a session and have his story told because there's something about him that he feels a resonance with the client, for example, because maybe she's going through, I've had this happen, right, with clients who are women. They might have had a past life as a soldier in which they were like abused, their bodies were abused, and they died horrible deaths. And it's because there's something that there's some kind of way in which she's martyring herself to a false cause, okay? And there's something about that this other being is attracted. I'm not saying this categorically. It could actually be that this was a past life of hers, okay? But I'm just exploring this idea at the moment and trying to get more clarity in the field about whether these are actually true past lives, or whether these are some kind of entity attachment or some kind of entity that's wanting to tell its story because there's a lesson and a healing that needs to take place within that story, okay? Because as we're healing ourselves, we're also healing the entire collective. We're basically providing healing for the entire human story, especially for our ancestors, for sure. So what happens is, is she feels a resonance with that soldier and sees the ways in which, he was forced to martyr himself and things like that. Then she starts merging with her own inner masculine, her own divine masculine energy that's had to do that in many ways. And that actually starts to magnetize her towards her true beloved on this planet, okay? Because he's probably going through a similar thing. Me and Dom have, we've been tracking this for since we got into union 6 months ago. Everything that's happened over, just since we've been going through our awakening journey. And it's crazy the number of times he was going through something and I was going through something at the same time. Or if I went through it a little bit earlier, there was maybe as I started to complete the cycle of a certain lesson that was being learned, he would get activated and accelerate and go through it very, very quickly. We're going to talk about this much more in depth in future transmissions, but it's crazy how much your masculine is actually going through the same lessons often at the same time as you. Sometimes there can even be a connection between the two of you, okay? Because me and Dom have actually known each other very kind of tangentially online for a few years, but didn't quite recognize each other, which I'll talk about in more depth. He actually was watching some of my videos years ago that were helping him recover, on narcissism, codependency. They were helping him recover from a breakup because he was trapped in the interfacing system as well. Both of us were. So yeah, he was watching my videos and they were helping him, and not realizing that was, it was the other half of his soul was talking to him and giving him the codes that he needed to heal. And, neither of us quite recognized each other for various reasons, which I'll talk about, in another video, why you don't necessarily recognize each other right away. So, as she comes deeper into, understanding the masculine in general, and particularly her unique masculine energy, she starts developing compassion, empathy, and understanding and devotion towards her masculine, so that when they actually come into union, that devotion and compassion and understanding can be felt within the union. So then the union, you actually start, experiencing the love that how God wanted you to be loved, which is just amazing, out of this world. Both of us can report that it's, we never knew that it was possible, to be loved in the way that we love each other. And it's really because you can feel that this is, this person's like an extension of you. It's, who you would want in another, the opposite polarity, a masculine counterpart or a feminine counterpart. So yeah, clearing it. How do we clear it? Obviously, the fieldwork that I do with clients really accelerates this process, okay? But it involves submitting to God, okay? Getting into union with God, okay? As you start to clear the masculine and feminine distortions in your field, it starts to generate the feeling of unconditional love within the light body. And right here, where your Ida and Pingala start to merge and connect, it also happens here. So it will also open up your vision, your inner sight. But here in the thymus gland, where it merges and where you can start to feel that orgasmic union, is when you'll start to feel streams of divine love pouring in through the crown. Obviously this happens during intimacy, but it can even happen just while you're on the ascension journey. The more you start to heal and integrate your relationship to the other, the masculine or the feminine, depending on who you are. As you start to submit to God, you start to do God's will, okay? So for example, man, he starts to develop the feminine principle of care, compassion, heart-centeredness, and, just being a warrior for, speaking up for humanity, speaking up for the sacred in the way that he is uniquely coded to do. So whatever he's here to offer the world, based on his skills, his talents, his passions, will be medicine for the world, okay, as he starts to embody that sacred feminine. And for a woman, if she's attracted to men, she will start to develop, courage, boundaries, those structure, those sacred masculine principles like forward direction, right and moral action, speaking truth, things like that. So those are masculine principles, and as she starts to develop her own inner masculine architecture, then she starts to come into union with her own masculine energy and with the immortal masculine, which is prime creator God source. Okay, the Godhead has a masculine polarity. Manifested creation has a feminine polarity, and also the Holy Spirit, which is basically the divine Sophia, the Shekinah, the Shakti, that emerges from the Godhead, and manifest creation has a feminine polarity. So you start uniting with God, you start doing your mission here on earth, okay? As you start to do your mission and start to really, really listen to what God wants you to do, you start to activate your templating. This is something that I do in the field with my clients. I can read their field as I remove these interfacing systems, the implants that have lodged into various energy centers in the body, things like betrayal, rape. There can be rape, phallic implants, if they have like some kind of like sexual trauma, all kinds of things. I've seen so many crazy things in the field that hook into people's light bodies. As we pull those out, sometimes new templates get activated in their place. So they could be gift templates, like things that they're here to do, like, it can be anything, from like speaking the truth to like, developing more confidence, or something like, it can be gifts around, making music or art or journalism, or, just anything. People are here to do so many things, okay? And what you're here to do is going to be your unique medicine for the world. It's going to be how you help to heal the world, okay? And that we all need to get on mission now. We're all here for unique purposes, and we're all so needed. So as you start to do this more and more, it will clear any, if you're in a false union, that will dissolve, okay? I've said this in multiple videos, okay? Speaking for Palestine, I was very, very guided by Prime Creator to speak for Palestine, okay? It's part of my templating I'm very connected to that region, partly ancestrally, as I've discovered now, as I was researching the 12 tribes. I'm going to be announcing the date for the 12 tribes webinar very soon, okay? Probably not in this transmission, but I'll have a date for it by the next one, hopefully, okay? Because I really want to bring that out to you guys, because it's so important to understand like the human family tree and the bloodlines and and to do some ancestral healing as well, okay? I do have an ancestral connection to that area. We actually all do, according to the biblical, the biblical version of events. If you believe that, if you don't believe that, I respect that also, okay? Because the evidence to support it is patchy at best, but there is evidence to support it, and we'll talk about some of that in the webinar. But yeah, it's, some people have it going back like thousands of years, some have it more recently, okay? So I have a little bit more recently a connection to both the Ishmaelite tribes and the Israelite tribes, and that region in general. I've discovered so much about my connection to Ishtar. It's just been revealing itself to me over years and years. I didn't understand it in the beginning, and I understand it more deeply now. So it's very much part of my templating to really, channel the feminine mysteries of that region, the mystery school, the temples, so much of that has been downloaded into me since I got into union. And so speaking for Palestine cleared my false union, okay, because my ex did not give a shit. He was not interested. Okay, he was like, oh, obviously, he was one of those people who's like, obviously it's terrible, but didn't want to do anything to support it and whatever. I understand that, I respect that, but do I? No, I don't actually really respect it. But, I understand that some people, it's not their fight. They have other things that are more pressing for them. And it just made it clear to me that he wasn't the type of person that I wanted to be with. And there were lots of other issues as well. It wasn't just that, okay? But that was one of the things that really started unraveling the whole thing and started clearing the attachment. And whatever was hooking us together started to dissolve itself. And immediately got into divine union, okay, because Don was speaking for Palestine since day one as well. He's very well researched on the agenda, as am I, as my divine masculine should be, okay, because that's who I am. So that, and my ex was actually always telling me that. He was always saying, you need to be somebody who's a bit more like this, and he would describe who I was always trying to turn him into. And this is the issue, and this is why these interfacing systems can cause so much pain, okay, because you're trying to get that person to be like what you're looking for, to be more like your true divine beloved, but they're not, okay, because they're their own unique person and they have their own beloved, and they're probably trying to do it to you as well, and it's very painful for both of you. And meanwhile, your beloved's off with someone else going through the same thing, also very painful, and it's stupid. Like, it's so stupid, and it doesn't need to happen. It's so unnecessary. Like, I just wish I want these teachings to get out to more and more people. So please send this video to anybody who you feel needs to hear it, okay? Because with everything that's happening on the planet right now, we don't have a lot of time. And I do believe that the divine unions are going to be really, really central to bringing down, to scuppering their plans for their new world order. Definitely that's part of our mission. I think it was going to be a lot of people's mission, okay? Maybe people have different ways of approaching it and different gifts that they're bringing to support that mission, but we need as many of you on mission and together, harmonized in union, making ecstatic love every day if you want, as a reward, as long as you're doing the mission, okay? So, yeah, you will start, when you start to actually embody your mission and do what God is telling you, despite everything that's crumbling all around you. Everything was falling apart, okay? Not just my relationship, I lost my home. Obviously, I'd moved to Mexico. I'd moved all my stuff to Mexico. It cost me a lot of money. I was in the middle of doing my residency as well there, and literally everything turned upside down. It cost me a lot of money, and yeah, it almost destroyed me, actually. But as it was happening, you know, things started accelerating, and I could see that everything that wasn't for me was falling apart, so that everything that God had planned for me was coming together. And so I just trusted, okay? I've been in a state of surrender and flow for several years now, and even though it's taken me some time to clear this system, I've gone through, I truly believe that I was initiated into going through that bullshit so that I can help you guys clear it much more efficiently. Okay, so yeah, as you start to embody your mission, your beloved will literally be magnetically drawn to you, and we will like geographically be becoming drawn to each other as well, because obviously, you know, he lives in the States, I had moved to Mexico, and you know, it was just geographically we were becoming magnetized, but also so like, you know, via social media, because of the things that we were both sharing, we started becoming magnetized to each other, and we started recognizing each other very quickly. Like, not saying that we didn't do any vetting and checking and making sure, and I'll do another video on how to vet people when you're getting to know them, to see if they are actually a match. Because yes, there can be like a massive like magnetic draw and a very, very strong sexual attraction where you like, it's almost like an instant recognition. You should still go through the proper process of vetting each other and do all your checks and balances and things like that, and, you know, take care of your safety, because of these interfacing systems, because there are narcissists and sociopaths out there that will target people, especially people who've got really high level mission to do a lot of good and to really help a lot of people. Those people are particularly targeted by some of these systems, okay? So if you find yourself that you've been, you know, just getting into loads of relationships with narcissists and things like that, yeah, if you're a person who's had to navigate a lot of these narcissistic interfaces and you find that therapists aren't really getting it, it might be because they haven't been through it, and they don't understand how, you know, when there's obvious red flags and narcissistic abuse, how you can still stay trapped in that kind of interfacing system. And it's because they're not understanding how the narcissist or sociopath or dismissive avoidant or whoever you're dealing with, often they'll have an entity attachment or an alien love bite, so to speak, that is literally an astral clone, and is basically mimicking the frequency of your beloved. And the way that they're able to do it is through you, okay? Because you obviously have the templating of who your beloved is within your own light body. But a lot of the times they know who your beloved is anyway, okay? Because these are like non-local entities. So they will mimic the frequency of your beloved. And so that can be really difficult to break free from, because you actually believe that this person that you're dealing with is, you know, could potentially be your true beloved, because they have so many similarities to them. So, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, me and Dom have been discussing over the last few months, like how how each person that we were with had like loads of similar traits in it. None of them were the complete package. It's interesting, everybody who I've been with in the past, all the things that I liked about them, you know, the red pill people will tell you like, oh, if you don't date a woman who's had like multiple relationships, because you'll find it harder to commit, because, you know, she's been with the rich guy, she's been with the tall guy, she's been with the sexy guy, all those things that she's attracted to, her true divine beloved embodies all those traits. That's why she's attracted to them, okay? And she keeps on dating so many different people, because she's trying to find all those things in one person. And, you know, people will tell you, oh, that, you know, you should give it up, your standards are too high, you know, like that person doesn't exist, perfection doesn't exist. And I'm telling you that like it's not perfection, it's just you're looking for the person that fits you, okay? If you exist, then your person exists. So, yeah, sorry, I lost a little bit of footage, so I can't remember what I said in the one that I lost. But yeah, as you start to align to God, you will start to magnetize your beloved, okay? You'll become geographically magnetized towards each other, like physically or energetically. So like maybe on social media, for example, like it happened for us, it happened in both ways, okay? Obviously I was like moving towards the Americas, and that's where he lives, but also because I was posting about Palestine so much, he was also posting about Palestine so much, we just became drawn to each other. And because we'd already known of each other, we started to recognize each other straight away. So obviously when you start to recognize your beloved, there will come a time, okay, when you've both healed and worked on yourself enough, where the recognition will start to be quite apparent, okay, and it will be difficult to deny who this person is. But you should still vet each other. When you're still getting to know somebody, you should still be vetting the person as you normally would for anyone else, okay? And I'll do a separate video talking about that, because you do need to follow all your checks and balances, and, you know, look after your safety, especially as a woman, and not just be jumping in feet first just because this person is embodying a few traits of what you're looking for, okay? Because that is exactly how we get into the karmic interface. Because when you see, oh, look, he's this, he's that, it must be him. No, you need to be a little bit more cautious. And, you know, if you've been through this interfacing system a few times, like we have, you will be cautious, and you'll vet the person properly. And then, yes, then you'll be like, okay, I can trust what my heart is telling me. I think this is definitely it. And there comes a time where you start to be like, yeah, this is definitely it. So, you know, obviously there's loads more that I can talk about with this. So yeah, I should probably wrap it up there. Yeah, if you wanted any fieldwork support with clearing the interfacing system, my website's now completely ready. I mean, it's been ready for a couple of weeks, but I just had there were some technical issues that I needed to sort. But you can now access my website, or I'm taking all my session bookings through that website now. And definitely sign up for email updates, okay, because my account is at risk. I've had multiple threats on my account. Even today, I had a threat, they took down one of my videos on YouTube, and then restored it right away when I appealed. So I do feel a little bit like my position here isn't really secure. So please do sign up for email updates. I'm trying to get as many of my supporters onto my email list as possible in case they take me down. So you can book your session on there. There's the single session, which is the bronze package, or the bronze offering. Then I do a silver package, which is 5-session package. That's very, very good transformation. 5 sessions is ideal for a lot of clients. You will note, you will have one session, you know, you will notice some shift. But 5 sessions is really good for really breaking down those layers, okay? Because a lot of the time, you know, these traumas, trauma can kind of, you go through loops sometimes, okay? So if you have an original trauma from your childhood, you'll often re-traumatize yourself over years and years and years, getting into situations that feel same, okay? So you will need multiple sessions to clear a certain thing and access that new timeline. And sometimes we backslide a little bit as well, you know. I've done multiple and different clearings of Lilith in my field, and I still had a fucking major Lilith attack last year, okay? Because obviously the more you level up in your mission, the more energetic support you'll need as well, okay? So there's the silver package, that's very accessibly priced, and then the 10 session package, which is even better value and offers the biggest transformation with 10 sessions. We can do it over 10 weeks if you want, boom, 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 very fast change, 10 months. Or even a little bit longer. You know, I'm not strict about when clients schedule their sessions in, because sometimes you need a little bit of time to integrate the energetic shift and to embody the new energy and to be in that new space before you do your next session, okay? It all works in divine timing, okay? So I've set quite a long expiry date for all those session packages. Both the silver package and the gold package require pre-qualification, so you will need to fill out an intake form, and then, you know, we'll do a quick call, you know, 20-minute call, or we might just do a single session first. I actually recommend that people try out, if you've never worked with me before or you've never done any of my webinars, I recommend that you book a single session first, just to see, you know, if you can hold the work, because this work will transform your life. It's like working with Moldavite, okay? It will drop so many things out of your field that you couldn't even believe you were in that lower timeline. You couldn't even believe you were allowing the things that you believed before. You just won't be able to get back down to that level of consciousness unless there's still more clearing that you need to do. But you really start accessing higher and higher timelines. So you have to be ready for your life to change in a good way before we do this work, okay? So maybe try out a single session, and if you have any questions, there's a contact section on my website as well, and there's also a very, very comprehensive FAQ that you should definitely have a read of before you book, because it will explain in detail everything about implant removal, timeline repair, all the wonderful things that quantum field work can do for you and how they work, and just explain a little bit more about them if you're kind of new to this sort of modality. So yeah, I hope to hear from you, and I'll leave it there for today. Let me know if you have any comments, any questions. Smash the like button as well, that helps me out a lot, and I will love you and leave you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. One love.